All right, let's shift our focus now. U.S. President Donald Trump has delayed a portion of the tariffs imposed on Canada and Mexico.
Now, the decision comes after financial markets reacted negatively to the sweeping tariffs of up to 25% that took effect earlier in the week. But Trump says he is not even looking at the markets right now.
There were no delays at all. No, nothing to do with the market. I'm not even looking at the market because long term, the United States will be very strong with what's happening here. Now, these are countries and companies, foreign companies, that have been ripping us off, and no president did anything about it until I came along, and then I did a lot about it.
Now, despite the delay, the White House confirmed that 62% of Canadian imports and nearly half of Mexican imports will still be subject to levies, mainly on energy products that at a lower 10% rate. The suspension will last until the 2nd of April, when Trump has warned that new reciprocal tariffs could be imposed. For the auto sector, the temporary pause brings relief as North American supply chains rely heavily on cross-border trade under the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement.
Now, automakers Ford, General Motors and Stellantis has pushed for an exemption, warning that tariffs can disrupt production and raise costs.
Basically makes it more fair for our car manufacturers during the short-term period before April 2nd. April 2nd is a little bit different. That will be much more significant. But during this interim period between now and April 2nd, this makes it much more favorable for our American car manufacturers.
The tariff dispute unfolds as the U.S. trade deficit surged 34% in January, and this marks the largest monthly trade gap on record since 1992. The surge was driven by a 10% increase in imports. The biggest import increases were seen in industrial goods and consumer products, including metal-based items. Experts say businesses are accelerating purchases ahead of anticipated tariffs.
And meanwhile, the stock market remains volatile. Despite Trump's partial rollback, Wall Street extended losses. Analysts warn that prolonged trade uncertainty could dampen business confidence and weigh on economic growth.
Economists are also debating the inflationary risks of Trump's tariff strategy. While U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent insists that price increases could be temporary, analysts warn that higher costs for imported goods could add to inflation pressures. This can potentially complicate the Federal Reserve's 2% target.
Now, Trump's move followed discussions with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, where he cited progress on immigration and drug enforcement. However, tensions with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau remain high, with Trudeau warning that trade conflicts with Washington will persist for the foreseeable future.
I can confirm that we will continue to be in a trade war that was launched by the United States for the foreseeable future. So Canadians should continue to buy Canadian, continue to stand up for each other. But we are trying to reduce the areas and the impact that these tariffs that the Americans are bringing in will have on Canadian workers.
Now, the Canadian government, in response to the tariff pause, has suspended its planned $125 billion countermeasures, but maintains its demand for full tariff removal. Meanwhile, China, another key market of Trump trade policies, has dismissed U.S. accusations about its role in the fentanyl trade, calling tariffs an ineffective solution to the issue. As the April 2 deadline approaches, businesses and policymakers brace for the next round of potential trade actions, with uncertainty looming over global supply chains and economic stability.
For more on this, our New York correspondent Susan Tehrani sends us this report.
The United States has imposed 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, but has temporarily suspended them until April 2nd after talks with leaders. Canada, however, retaliated with 25% tariffs on $30 billion in U.S. goods, while Mexico's response is expected to come by March 9th. Meanwhile, the U.S. increased tariffs on China, prompting China to file a WTO dispute. Markets, of course, reacted negatively, with the dollar hitting a 3-month low and stocks dropping as well. Retailers warn of economic risks as talks and tensions continue. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.